The courage to live without needing validation. When was the last time you did something important without telling anyone? When was the last time you walked into a room and didn't wonder how you were being perceived? When was the last time you made a decision that felt right? Not for applause, not for likes, not for recognition, but simply because it aligned with who you are. We live in an age where every thought must be posted, every win must be shared, and every step must be affirmed. But this hunger to be seen, to be validated, has quietly eroded something sacred, your sovereignty. And what if I told you that your deepest strength doesn't come from being understood? It comes from being unchanged when you are not. That the highest form of freedom is not found in being praised, but in being indifferent to praise. This is not a rebellion, it's a return. A return to the ancient path walked by Stoics like Marcus Aurelius, who wrote silently to himself while ruling the world, by Epictetus, who was born a slave and still declared that only your own mind could enslave you. Today's letter is an invitation, not to impress, but to untangle, to unhook your worth from the reactions of others, to remember that a man who needs applause to move will never move with integrity. This is not a video, it is a private letter to your higher self, one that contains truths most people aren't ready to hear because they've built their lives on being seen instead of being solid. But you're not most people. If you stay until the final minutes, you'll hear a rare Stoic insight, one that may completely shift how you define strength, confidence, and what it truly means to be respected. Until then, I ask one thing of you. Comment below. My value is not up for debate. That single phrase is your act of courage, your way of stepping outside the algorithm of approval and stepping into the stillness of self-respect. Also, like this video and subscribe. It's not about growth metrics. It's about building a circle of minds that dare to think, feel, and live with radical clarity. Be proud to be part of this. Many use these daily letters as modern therapy, moments of philosophical self-care, in a world addicted to noise. And this video, especially its penultimate lesson, holds a Stoic insight that few ever grasp, but those who do live lighter and lead quieter lives of undeniable strength. The journey begins now. We've been conditioned since childhood to seek the nod, the compliment, the gold star. Do the right thing, not because it's right, but because someone might clap. Say the right words, not because they're true, but because they're popular. But here's what the Stoics knew. A man who lives for validation is a man owned by everyone but himself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Ambition means tying your well-being to what other people say or do. Sanity means tying it to your own actions." In other words, the moment you need to be seen, you've already forgotten how to see yourself. We live in a world of digital mirrors, screens reflecting back to us distorted images of worth. And every time you refresh that feed, every time you check if your story was viewed, every time you silently hope someone noticed your discipline, you trade a piece of your soul for a hit of relevance. But relevance is not respect. And popularity is not peace. The self-made man, the Stoic, knows that the real battle is not external. It's not with the critics or the algorithms. It's with the part of you that believes you don't matter unless someone else says you do. And that part must die, because until it does, your energy will be split. You'll do the right thing, but with a hidden hope of being admired. You'll pursue your calling, but shape it for applause. You'll walk your path, but with one eye on the audience. That is not mastery. That is performance, and performance always bends. It bends to opinion. It bends to pressure. It bends to the imaginary scoreboard that no one else is even keeping. So what's the alternative? To practice sacred invisibility, to let your actions be your statement, to let your silence be your strength, to let your integrity be enough even when no one claps. The next lesson may break your hidden dependency on others' opinions. And once it's broken, you'll walk lighter, speak clearer, and finally know what freedom actually feels like. Read that again, because if you don't internalize this truth, you will spend your life adjusting yourself to fit into rooms where your soul doesn't belong. You'll water down your thoughts, you'll shrink your presence, you'll smile when you feel fire. You'll say yes when everything in your gut screams no. Why? Because deep down you fear exile. You fear not being accepted. You fear that if others don't like you, maybe there's something wrong with you. But the Stoics remind us again and again Other people's thoughts are outside your control, and if it's outside your control, it is outside your concern. Epictetus was clear. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Let that sink in. Improvement will make you look foolish to those who benefit from your stagnation. Growth will make others uncomfortable. Truth will make you a target. So what? Your task is not to be liked, it is to be aligned. You were not born to be a projection screen for other people's expectations. You were born to be a sculpture of your own making, and the cost of self-respect is often social rejection. But what a small price to pay to finally stop contorting yourself for approval. You must reclaim the sacred space of your own mind. Let people misunderstand you. Let them judge. Let them walk away. A Stoic doesn't build his character to be admired. He builds it because it is the only life worth living. Stop asking, what will they think? Start asking, what will I become if I keep betraying myself to fit in? Because every time you abandon your truth for comfort, you dull the blade of your spirit. And you are meant to be sharp. What comes next may explain why you've never felt at peace, even when things are going well. And the answer doesn't lie in your circumstances, it lies in your attachments. Why do you crave validation so deeply? Because somewhere along the way you attached your worth to the way others see you. Their praise became proof that you matter. Their approval became evidence that you exist correctly. And so you perform, you curate, you edit. Not just your social media, but your soul. But here is the Stoic truth you were never taught. You are not what others reflect back to you. You are what you repeatedly do, especially when no one is watching. Marcus Aurelius warned, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." What a contradiction. What a prison. You will never be at peace if your sense of self is chained to others' reactions. You must detach, not from love, not from purpose, but from the illusion that your value is unstable, contingent on applause, likes or praise. The man who detaches from validation becomes dangerous. Why? Because he cannot be manipulated. He cannot be flattered into inauthenticity. He cannot be destroyed by rejection. He becomes centered. He becomes clean. He becomes free. The Stoic doesn't suppress emotion, he refines it. He doesn't chase affirmation, he embodies clarity. He doesn't posture for belonging. He walks with his own rhythm and lets alignment attract what should remain. So let go. Let go of the need to be seen. Let go of the imaginary audience. Let go of the fear that solitude equals failure. Solitude is where your real work begins, and only from solitude can strength emerge. The next idea will challenge everything you believe about confidence. And it may finally reveal why you still feel small, even after all the progress you've made. Most men misunderstand confidence. They think it's loud, they think it's charismatic. They think it's being certain, being seen, being celebrated. But true confidence, the Stoic kind, is almost invisible. It's not how you enter a room, it's how little you need from it. Confidence is not the belief that others will approve of you. It is the deep internal calm that remains even when they don't. Seneca once wrote, "The approval of others cannot make us happy, nor their disapproval make us miserable, unless we allow it." So how do you build this? Not by becoming impressive, not by gathering attention, but by stacking evidence. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, confidence grows. Every time you choose discipline over indulgence, confidence strengthens. Every time you act with integrity, even when no one is watching, confidence is carved quietly like muscle under the surface. Confidence is earned in isolation. It's built in the unseen, and it's felt, not shown. The most dangerous man in the room is the one who doesn't need the room to affirm him. He walks with weight because he knows who he is without mirrors. Do you? Ask yourself this. If no one ever praised you again, would you still train? Would you still write? Would you still speak the truth? If the answer is yes, you're free. If the answer is no, then your work has just begun. The Stoic path is not about appearing strong, it's about becoming strong, so thoroughly, so patiently, that even silence feels like a sanctuary. The next teaching is rarely discussed, but it may explain why many men never find their true path. and it could reveal what's actually keeping you stuck. So many men ask, "What is my purpose?" But how can you possibly hear your inner compass when the noise of other people's expectations is deafening? How can you feel your own rhythm when every step is a performance for someone else? The truth is brutal, but liberating. As long as you seek to be validated by others, your life will be directed by them. The Stoics didn't ask what would make them look important. They asked what would make them whole. Marcus Aurelius, in the depths of political and personal chaos, wrote, "Just that you do the right thing. The rest doesn't matter." Not the praise. Not the image, not the outcome, just the alignment. But alignment requires courage because it often means walking a road no one claps for. It means disappointing others so you can finally stop disappointing yourself. If you want to find your true path, you must stop living for recognition and start listening for resonance. Not everything that gains approval is aligned with your soul, and not everything that is aligned with your soul will gain approval. Your path will often look strange to others. Good. Let it look strange. Let your integrity confuse them. Let your refusal to perform frustrate the crowd. Because the man who breaks from the herd to follow his inner truth is not lost. He's rare. And in a world addicted to applause, rarity is often mistaken for rebellion. But it is not rebellion. It is return. Return to self. Return to silence. Return to the voice that has been whispering inside you since the beginning. This is who you are. Walk it, whether they notice or not. What comes next holds a Stoic insight that very few people ever live out. It might be the key to becoming untouchable by both praise and criticism. There is a trap hidden even in success. When people begin to praise you, you start to perform for the praise. And when they criticize you, you start to doubt the very ground you once stood firmly on. But both are illusions. Praise is not proof. Criticism is not truth. They are simply reactions, echoes, bouncing off the hollow walls of other people's perceptions. If you build your identity on these echoes, you will constantly shift shape to match the noise around you. One day admired, the next day dismissed. One day lifted, the next day ignored. But the Stoic understands, you must be the voice, not the echo. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought ignorant or stupid." Why? Because the man who needs approval cannot improve honestly. He performs instead of progresses. Let that sink in. You can't grow if you're constantly editing yourself for applause. You can't be free if you're obsessed with avoiding criticism. The self-possessed man, he who follows the Stoic path, moves not because he is clapped, not because he is feared, but because he is clear. He speaks not to be agreed with, but because truth requires expression. He acts not to prove something, but because his principles demand action. He endures not to be admired, but because he knows who he is when everything else falls away. Ask yourself, would I still walk this path if no one ever approved of it? Would I still write, build, teach, lead, if it meant being misunderstood? If the answer is yes, you are becoming rare. If the answer is no, don't run. Refine, refine. Your need. Refine your intent. Refine your center. Until the storms of praise and criticism pass through you like wind through a mountain. The next insight is the most powerful Stoic truth in this entire letter. It is the key to enduring with grace, building with depth, and living without fear. There's a moment every man must face. The moment when all strategies collapse. When the crowd quiets. When even the performance feels exhausting. And in that silence, one question remains. Who are you when you no longer need to prove anything? The Stoics called this ataraxia, a state of unshakable tranquility. Not because life is easy, but because you no longer hinge your worth on outcomes, opinions, or image. Most men chase success, respect, love, thinking these things will complete them. But what if the true turning point isn't external gain, but internal release? What if the moment you stop needing to be enough is the first moment you truly are? Because freedom isn't found in achieving more. Freedom is found in needing less. Epictetus taught, freedom is not achieved by satisfying desire, but by eliminating it. And one of the deepest desires that keeps men enslaved is the craving to be validated, to be told they are good, worthy, strong, admirable. But here's the truth. You are already whole. Not perfect, not finished, but whole. You don't need more applause, you need more alignment. You don't need to become someone different. You need to return to someone deeper. This is not complacency, it is clarity. When you act from fullness, not from lack. When you move from conviction, not from fear. When your inner state is no longer held hostage by who notices you. That's the Stoic path. To be grounded, not grasping. To build quietly, love fiercely, and live honestly, even if the world never claps. So the next time doubt creeps in and tells you you need to be more, answer calmly, no, I need to be real. The next and final lesson will close the letter. Stay with me, because the reflection you're about to hear may shift your entire relationship with validation forever. Most people fear being rejected, but there's something even more painful, more subtle, more spiritually corrosive. Being ignored, not hated, just unseen, not attacked, just passed over. Your work, your presence, your effort, unnoticed. And yet, the Stoic does not flinch in this silence, because he understands something most men never will. To be overlooked and remain whole, this is rare strength. You don't need the spotlight to walk with power. You don't need applause to act with honor. You don't need to be remembered to live meaningfully. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, soon you will have forgotten the world and soon the world will have forgotten you. To most, this sounds bleak, but to the Stoic, it's liberation. Why? Because once you accept that the world may never see your full worth, you are finally free to stop performing and start living. To live not as a billboard, but as a monument. To exist not for attention, but for alignment. And here's the final secret. The less you need to be seen, the more clearly you begin to see. You see what matters. You see what's lasting. You see yourself not as a brand, not as a product, but as a man. A man sculpted by choice. A man refined by discipline. A man at peace with being unseen, because he knows what he is, with or without recognition. This is not detachment. It is devotion to truth over popularity, to presence over performance, to principle over perception. Let the world scroll past you. Let them overlook you. Let them misunderstand your silence as absence. You know what you are building. You know who you are becoming. And that knowing, quiet, solid, immovable, is enough. Now we enter the final letter, the closing reflection, the last words that seal this journey and call you to something deeper than attention. If you've stayed until this moment, you've already done something most men never do. You've chosen to face the silence, to walk through a letter that didn't flatter you, didn't hype you, didn't perform for your validation. And that alone proves something. You are no longer here for approval. You are here for truth. This entire journey has been one long carving, one strike after another, cutting through the need to be liked, admired, understood. And in its place, something stronger has begun to emerge. A man who can walk alone, stand firm, and live with calm defiance in a world begging him to conform. The self-made man doesn't just build muscles, he builds meaning. He doesn't just collect achievements, he collects clarity. And he doesn't just talk about freedom, he lives it. Not loudly, not desperately, but unshakably. So here is your final challenge. If you've truly understood what this letter was meant to awaken, prove it, not with noise, but with stillness. Comment below, I no longer need to be seen to be strong. That sentence is not decoration. It is a vow, a signpost on the inner path, a mark that tells me and tells yourself that something shifted here today. And if you feel it, share it. Not to be popular, but to be generous. Because when we spread ideas like this, we create something sacred, a quiet revolution of depth in a world of distraction. You never know who might need this letter right now. Send it to the man who's been doubting himself, to the brother who's drowning in comparison, to the son, the father, the friend who's forgotten that strength can be silent. And if you haven't subscribed yet, don't do it for me. Do it for you, because this isn't a channel, it's a ritual. A daily carving of the soul. A place where men return not to be told they're enough, but to become enough without needing to. Hear it, these letters are not trends, they're altars. And every time you watch, reflect, comment, you are keeping that altar lit. Now let the video fade, let the music rise, and do not skip it. Let these final moments be the chisel that seals today's work into the stone of your being. Sit, still, breathe. You need no one to see you. You are already becoming the kind of man who sees himself clearly, calmly, and without apology.